You think you know how the world works. You believe you need to work harder, wait your turn, be good, and people, money, and power will find their way to you. But secretly, when no one is watching, you have seen the world reward someone else, someone with less skill, less merit, less heart, but more certainty. You wonder how they keep appearing in rooms you thought were closed off. Why does the world seem to move for them while you stay in the same place? It is not a matter of luck, not a matter of fate. There is a law at work here older than any philosophy, older than any nation, and almost everyone you have ever met is living under the wrong version of it. The law is this: the world does not give power, money, or respect to those who deserve it. It gives them to those who have chosen, with ruthless clarity, to see themselves as the kind of person who cannot be ignored. What if you could become that person? What if everything you have been told about humility, patience, and deserving was a misunderstanding, a way to keep you invisible? What would it mean to start thinking about yourself in the one way that changes everything? Are you willing to test this law and see for yourself what happens when you finally step outside the cage? You have been told to be humble since childhood, told that ambition is arrogance, told that thinking highly of yourself is the first sign of pride, and that pride comes before a fall. From every corner, family, teachers, friends, the message is clear. Do not stand out. Do not speak out. Do not believe you are destined for more. Every time you dared to want more, you were advised to slow down. Every time you showed confidence, you were warned to be careful, to avoid disappointment, to avoid making others uncomfortable. It was never stated outright, but the rule was always there. Do not make others feel small by becoming too large. The world rewards those who fit comfortably inside others' expectations. It is easier to manage, control, and forget a person who never makes noise about what they want. But here is what no one told you. This was never about protecting you from failure. It was about protecting others from the discomfort created by your growth. Jung called this the tyranny of the tribe. We inherit belief systems not because they are true, but because they keep us connected to the group. We shrink ourselves to remain accepted. The cage is constructed out of other people's comfort zones. And you, like almost everyone, learned to live inside it, believing it was the entire world. You were not born apologizing for your desires. You were taught, one small correction at a time, that wanting more was dangerous. But here is what most people never realize about this. The very ideas meant to keep you humble are the same ones that stop you from ever stepping into your real power. The reason this happens goes deeper than most people realize. Underneath it all, there is a negotiation happening within you every single day. You are negotiating with yourself about what you deserve. And that negotiation is shaped by something deeper than your conscious mind. It is shaped by the story you have been given about who you are. From the earliest age, the world does not just give you laws. It gives you a script. You internalize the words spoken around you, the backhanded compliments, the warnings, even the silences. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "Every profound spirit needs a mask." But most people have never chosen their own mask. They are wearing one that was assigned to them. Your sense of possibility and your invisible boundaries are installed long before you ever get to choose them. Most people die inside the psychological house they never built. But why do you stay? Why does the mind cling to the role of the good person, the patient one, the humble one, even as you quietly resent every lost opportunity? Because your beliefs about yourself feel like reality. They are not just ideas. They are the lens through which you see the world. They define what you think is possible. They shape what you believe you are allowed to ask for. Imagine your inner world as a fortress with invisible walls. Every message you received about who you are not, and what is acceptable. Each one is a brick in that wall. Over time, the fortress becomes a prison. You cannot see the walls, but you feel them everywhere, in salary negotiations, in love, in friendships, in the way you carry yourself. And the cruelest part, the world will reinforce your beliefs by mirroring them back to you. This is not just psychology. It is survival. We build our sense of self to avoid being cast out by the group, to be too bold, too different, too outspoken. These are ancient triggers for social danger. But in modern life, the danger is no longer exile. The danger is mediocrity. The cost of staying small is that you become invisible to the opportunities that require you to be unmistakable. And here is the metaphor to remember. You are not a finished statue. You are the sculptor, standing over your own block of stone. Either you carve yourself into what you want to become, or you let the world do it for you. The deeper reason you have not claimed power, money, or presence is not lack of worth. It is an inner negotiation lost before it ever began. But you can redraw those lines. This is why when you shift your self-image, everything around you begins to shift as well. Tell me in the comments, which of the beliefs from your childhood do you recognize still shaping your self-image, even now as an adult? The phrase, the warning, or the silence that still echoes in your mind? Write it below. You do not need to justify it, just name it. Someone else may recognize their own story in yours, and that is where change begins. Subscribe if you are ready to rewrite that story and see what happens next. You do not just have a self-image, you live it. It appears in the way you speak, the way you move, the way you let opportunities slip away or seize them. But you rarely stop to notice the patterns. Until now. Pattern 1, underselling yourself when it matters most. You do this in negotiations, in salary talks, in meetings where you quietly hope someone will see your value without you needing to name it. You worry that stating your worth out loud will make you seem arrogant or greedy. So you wait for someone else to bring it up. They rarely do. You walk out of the room knowing you left money, recognition, and respect on the table. But you tell yourself next time will be different. Pattern 2, over-explaining your choices. You find yourself explaining why you made this decision, why you want what you want, why you said no. You want to be understood, to be seen as reasonable, to soften your presence so no one feels threatened by your certainty. But each explanation erodes your authority. And the people who move the room never apologize for making choices. Pattern 3, apologizing for taking up space. You hesitate before you speak. You shrink your posture. You wait for an invitation to contribute, as if you need permission to simply exist. You tell yourself you are being considerate, but the people who lead never ask if they are allowed to be present. You keep quiet until the moment passes, and then wonder why no one asks your opinion. Pattern 4, reacting to rejection by retreating. The moment someone pushes back, questions you, or ignores your idea, you fold inward. You withdraw your energy, Tell yourself the world does not want what you offer, and return to the safe territory you have always known. But rejection is not a verdict. It is only feedback. Those who shape reality know that pushback is the gatekeeper to every significant reward. Once you notice these patterns in yourself, each one rooted in the beliefs you inherited, not the truths you have chosen, you begin to see how deeply the script runs through your life. And once you see how deeply this runs, the question becomes what to do about it. Machiavelli was not a cynic. He was a realist. He saw that power, money, and influence are not distributed according to virtue, effort, or fairness. They are distributed according to perception. Perception is not about trickery. It is about authority. The authority to define yourself before anyone else can define you. His model is simple, but brutal. Step 1. Decide who you are before the world can tell you. Step 2. Act consistently with that decision, even before you have any evidence that the world will accept the new reality. Step 3. Project certainty, not explanation. These are not mere attitudes. They are psychological laws. In Jungian terms, the process is individuation, the journey of separating your real self from the roles, masks, and scripts imposed on you by others. To individuate is to declare, I am not who you said I was. I am who I choose to become. But most people never complete this process. They stay fused to the expectations of their tribe, their culture, their early environment. Machiavelli's insight. This is not just personal. It is political. The person who sets their own standard, who decides their own value, creates a gravitational field. People, money, and power naturally flow toward certainty. Most people believe the world is a meritocracy. What is actually happening is a negotiation. Every room, every relationship, every deal. And the unspoken question in every negotiation is, how certain is this person of their own worth? It is not a matter of arrogance. It is not about pretending to be more than you are. It is the ability to stand in the room, silent, clear, unyielding, and let the room adjust to you. Jung wrote that the persona, the mask we show the world, is necessary. But the tragedy is when the mask becomes a prison. Machiavelli would say, it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But the true point is not about cruelty or domination. What he meant is that certainty, the refusal to be easily read, provoked, or weakened, inspires respect. Most people are walking applications, waiting for approval, waiting to be chosen. The few who choose themselves are the ones the world bends around. And once you see this clearly, truly clearly, something shifts. Reframe everything you have known. You have been living as if the world is a scale, measuring and rewarding your effort. But the world is a mirror, reflecting the image you project onto it. Your pain, the frustration, the missed opportunities, the feeling of invisibility is not evidence of your weakness. It is the signal that you are overdue for a new image. This is not a flaw. It is a prompt. Every discomfort you feel about your status, your worth, your ability to claim what you want. This is not a verdict on your potential. It is an invitation to build a new internal standard. If this reframe has shifted something in you, a like puts it in front of someone else who needs it right now. Think of yourself as the architect, not the material. You are not defined by the shape others have carved for you. You are defined by how willing you are to pick up the hammer and the chisel and start reshaping your own story. In Stoic philosophy, there is a word, prohairesis, which means the faculty of choice, the innermost power to shape your own fate, regardless of circumstance. This is the secret of the untouchable self. When you refuse to be defined by other people's scripts, you become, in a very real sense, ungovernable. People sense the shift, even if they cannot explain it. Power, money, and opportunity are drawn to you because you give the world no other option. But first, you must become intolerant of your own old story. The question is no longer whether you can change. The question is whether you are willing to begin. How do you do it? How do you become the person who draws people, money, and power, not through force, but through the gravity of your own unshakable self-image? It begins with small, precise practices. First, the audit. Each night, write down the moments from your day where you felt yourself shrink, hesitate, or apologize for your own presence. Do not judge, justify, or rationalize. Just notice. Naming the moment is the first step to reclaiming it. Second, the micro-declaration. At the start of each day, state out loud, to the empty room, to the silence, to the canyon echo, the identity you are choosing for that day. Examples. I am the person who cannot be ignored in this negotiation. Or, I am the person whose presence is the difference maker here. It sounds small, but repetition at the edge of your comfort zone rewires the script. Third, the boundary ritual. When you feel yourself drifting back into explanation, over-justifying or shrinking, pause. Take one deliberate breath. Remind yourself, I do not need to make myself small to make others comfortable. I am here to take up space. Do this especially in high-stakes situations, meetings, negotiations, conversations that trigger the old patterns. This is not easy, but it is possible. Finally, integrate the practice of creative rejection. Seek out situations where you risk being ignored or misunderstood, and deliberately hold your ground. Let the discomfort of not being immediately welcomed or understood become your training ground. Each time you do not fold, your self-image grows, legs of stone beneath you. You will not get it perfectly. But with every day of practice, the gap between who you have been and who you are becoming will narrow. And soon, you will realize the world is bending quietly around the shape you have chosen to take. You started this journey wondering why people, money, and power seem to pass you by. You learned that the world does not simply reward goodness, effort, or patience. It rewards clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you expect, and the standard you are willing to enforce simply by existing. The cage you lived in was never locked. It was made of stories. Stories handed to you, never chosen. But now you can see the first crack of light. You know now that the world moves toward those who move toward themselves. You know that humility without boundaries is just another word for self-erasure. Remember this: the only approval you will ever need is your own. The only permission that matters is the one you grant yourself. People, money, and power are not prizes for the obedient. They are companions for the unapologetic. You are ready. You do not need the world's blessing to become impossible to ignore. Permission is a trick, an illusion kept alive by those who benefit when you stay small. Every system, every tradition, every unspoken rule that told you to wait and be chosen was designed to keep you manageable. But the real architects of destiny, those who bend the odds, walk into rooms and shift the center of gravity did not arrive because someone handed them authority. They gave it to themselves. Self-permission is not a feeling. It is a decision made in private, away from applause or reassurance. It means walking forward when no one tells you it is time. It means raising your hand when the room falls silent, not because you are certain of victory, but because you refuse to be invisible. Self-permission is ruthless clarity about what you are willing to tolerate. When you stop negotiating with your own potential, the world has no choice but to renegotiate how it receives you. Weakness is contagious, but so is self-certainty. You do not ask for the right to step forward. You choose it quietly, again and again, until the doors that once refused to open now swing when you arrive. Every visible arena, business, culture, relationships, runs on invisible rules. The world you see is shaped by agreements so old, so deeply embedded, most never bother to question them. Those who rise are not merely talented, skilled, or even ruthless. They are the ones who understand that every system is malleable, every hierarchy, every gate, every tradition. They see the hidden levers. Machiavelli, centuries ago, unmasked this truth. Official narratives tell you to earn your place, while unofficial channels reward those who act as if they already belong there. Do not mistake process for destiny. Most people follow the script handed to them, never daring to improvise. But the truly influential write their own lines. They do not wait for legacy or lineage or timely recognition. Instead, they show up every day as the standard. This is not arrogance. It is the disciplined refusal to play someone else's role. It is the learned skill of walking directly toward what you want, through the uncomfortable, through the misunderstood. The game behind the game is simple. The world believes you when you believe yourself. You were sold a story. Maybe you still believe it, that if you are kind enough, work hard enough, play by the rules long enough, the universe will reward you. But the world is not a wish-granting machine. History is littered with the bones of men who waited for what they deserved. Jung saw this in the client who, after decades of humility, felt only resentment. The Stoics warned against it. The only justice you can count on is the justice you create with your own hands. Deserving is a myth that keeps you hoping, not acting. When you finally accept that no one is coming to crown you, everything changes. Deserving is not destiny. Clarity is you decide. From the inside out, you declare, I am the standard, and every room must adjust. It is seductive to stay within the boundaries of the familiar. Habits, environments, inherited beliefs. They promise safety, but deliver only repetition. Each day you live as a mirror for other people's comfort zones. You reinforce your own limits. The cost of your comfort is possibility. You have met people whose lives became small, not overnight, but inch by inch. One surrendered ambition, one quieted question, one apology too many. The familiar is the slowest of prisons. To break out, you must recognize the habits that were never really yours. You inherited them, you repeated them, but now you can interrupt them. Even the smallest act of self-definition cracks the foundation of the old cage. It could be as subtle as refusing to laugh at a joke that diminishes you, or as decisive as walking away from a table where your presence is tolerated, not valued. Choose. If you practice radical clarity long enough, you will be misunderstood. Being misunderstood is not a mistake. It is a badge, a sign that you have stepped beyond the boundaries of inherited comfort. The people who misunderstand you most are the ones invested in the version of you that never threatened their equilibrium. They will call you arrogant, cold, distant, even ruthless. That is not your problem to solve. Jung called this individuation, the process by which you become whole, not popular. Machiavelli called it the cost of power, the willingness to be alone in your vision until the world is ready to catch up. To be misunderstood is to be free from their expectations. That discomfort you feel is growing pains, the price of self-possession. Wear it. There is a discipline rarer than action. Stillness, not passivity, but the practiced refusal to react just because the world demands a response. Stillness is the ground from which true presence is built. When you do not leap to explain yourself, defend your worth, or chase after recognition, you create a field around you. People sense it. Money senses it. Power senses it. The world orients toward the unmoved center. Stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness contained. It is the power of knowing you do not need to prove what is already true. Watch what happens when you let your stillness speak first. Every room you enter has more doors than you realize. Most people only see the exits marked for them, pre-approved, obvious, safe. But there are always hidden doors, available only to the person who acts as if they belong everywhere. The hidden door in negotiation. You ask for more, not because you are entitled, but because you have decided in advance what you are willing to accept. The hidden door in conversation. You listen with the intent to understand, not to be understood. So your words carry weight when you finally speak. The hidden door in conflict. You decline to participate in drama. So you remain the unmovable anchor others orbit. These doors do not open for the person waiting to be chosen. They open for the one who has already chosen himself. Watch the world reveal its secret passageways when you start moving like you are the architect of your own fate. Unapologetic power is not domination. It is the unshakable internal structure built from honesty and clarity. Machiavelli wrote about external power, positioning, perception, and strategy. The Stoics wrote about internal sovereignty, response, discipline, and self-control. When you merge these, you become the architect of your world. What you allow is what will continue. What you demand, silently, by your presence, trains people how to treat you. Unapologetic power is not about loudness. It is about the silent standard you live by. A standard so obvious that those who cannot meet it quietly excuse themselves. You do not apologize for expecting respect, for moving toward abundance, for holding yourself to a code above the noise. You become untouchable because you no longer believe you are at the mercy of the world's permission. All of this understanding is worthless unless it becomes movement. Transformation is not a thought. It is a leap. The first leap may be small. One boundary expressed, one truth spoken, one refusal to defer. But it sets off a chain reaction. Jung called this individuation. The moment you act not from expectation, but from your own center. The leap is terrifying only until you make it. Then, every step after becomes easier, more natural, more inevitable. No one can take this leap for you. No mentor, partner, or parent can grant you the authority that comes from self-definition. This is the price and privilege of becoming. Take it. The world is ruthless with the invisible, but it is oddly generous with the undeniable. When you embody your chosen standard, everything from opportunity to admiration reorients around your presence. Money moves toward conviction. Power gravitates to certainty. People follow those who move first, not because of loudness, but because of clarity that needs no explanation. The more you become the evidence of your own philosophy, the less you need to justify, explain, or prove. The world cannot ignore what you refuse to hide. It is easy to imagine that the ability to attract what you want, people, money, power, is about new strategies, clever tricks, or relentless hustle. But all of that is downstream from the way you think about yourself. The future you want is already watching you. It is waiting for the moment you stop apologizing for wanting more. The world responds not to your need, but to your conviction. If you want the room to shift, you must become the shift. If you want people to treat you with respect, you must be willing to stay silent when lesser offers appear. If you want abundance, you must stop negotiating with scarcity inside your own mind. Everything you desire begins with this new lens, the radical act of thinking about yourself as the architect, not the applicant. If you remember nothing else from this journey, remember the standard. It is not about perfection. It is about refusing to abandon yourself. Every day will test this. Each encounter, negotiation, setback, or success will try to move your anchor. But if you return always to your standard, to the clarity that began all of this, you cannot lose. You will find that people, money, and power arrive not by accident, nor by chance. They arrive as a reflection of the man you became, inwardly unshakable and outwardly undeniable. You have always had the raw material. Now you have the blueprint. Move as if you belong and watch what follows. If you want to continue this journey, subscribe. This is not the end, but the next beginning. The world you seek is already bending toward the version of you who stops apologizing and starts deciding. The story was never about waiting for the world to recognize you. It was always about you recognizing yourself and making that recognition impossible to ignore. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one.